Hi everyone. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, audible.
Yeah, good.
Sorry.
So I will request everyone to keep their cameras and mics off so that we can have a better connection and a better meeting. Today we are going to talk about psychiatry, assessment in psychiatry and history taking basically. So case assessment is one of the cornerstones of assessment in psychiatry. um, कुछ लोग हमारे साथ जो जुड़े हैं वो साइकोलॉजी बैकग्राउंड से हैं, कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जो साइकोलॉजी में इंटरेस्टेड हैं. सो दिस कोर्स बिकॉज इट्स अ वेरी बेसिक कोर्स, it's going to be beneficial for everybody who is inclined towards psychology and psychiatry. तो आज बेसिकली हम पढ़ेंगे कि किस तरीके से हम असेसमेंट्स कर सकते हैं और किस तरीके से हम आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं. So one of the first things that we need to understand is whenever a patient comes to our clinic, we do a case history. So before I begin with the theoretical details, let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Priyanka Kalra. I am the founder and director of Global Child Wellness Center. That is a center for child and adolescent mental and behavioral health. It is situated in Ludhiana, Saraba Nagar. Some people are joining us from other cities and other nations also. All of you are more than welcome. I will be joined by my team here, that is Karishma and Punya, who are the psychologists working in our center. So we have devised this internship ताकि हम आप लोगों को एक basic understanding provide कर सकें regarding the assessment and history taking. Is it not audible to anyone? Voice issue है कुछ? आप लोग मुझे chat box में message करके response दे सकते हैं so that I can keep answering you whenever required.
No,
Okay.
as far as your voice is audible, it's very clear.
Okay, good to know. Okay, now I will be starting the screen sharing and I will discuss the performa with you. So today since we are going to talk about history taking, I hope some of you have some understanding about history taking. Actually, in psychiatry, the thing is that there are not much ऑब्जेक्टिव टेस्ट माने जैसे कोई अगर फिजिकल इलनेस है तो उसके लिए हमारे पास थर्मामीटर है या सीटी स्कैन है या ईसीजी है. तो साइकाइट्री में हमारा एक बेसिक टूल जो रहता है वो बेसिक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव हिस्ट्री रहता है. So let me share some things with you on the same front. Please tell me if my screen is visible to you. In my chat box, so you can tell me there. वानी, आपको अपना ऑडियो कनेक्ट करना पड़ेगा. आप अपनी स्क्रीन पर देखो एक बार, उसमें नीचे एक आइकॉन होगा कनेक्ट टू ज्वाइन विद ऑडियो, तो उसमें क्लिक करेंगे तो आप ज्वाइन कर पाएंगे और सुन पाएंगे. Okay, so now is the history taking performa visible? Good. So let's begin. हम लोग पहले बात करेंगे about the history taking. So सबसे पहले जब पेशेंट हमारे पास आता है, I will be speaking a mix of Hindi, English, maybe a little bit of Punjabi, if you all permit. So we begin with socio-demographic performa. That is the history taking performa. इसके अंदर हम सबसे पहले पेशेंट का नेम, occupation, gender and please switch off your mics. This disturbance is coming because somebody's mic is on. So I'm muting everybody so that we don't have any disturbance. Okay, now I hope things are better. तो सबसे पहले जब हम पेशेंट के साथ नाम, एज वगैरह पूछते हैं, उस केस में क्या रहता है कि there are a lot of things that we can understand through person's name, age, marital status, occupation and gender. क्योंकि कुछ illnesses ऐसे हैं जो age wise. Please switch off your mics. I am muting everybody, but some people are unmuting. Abhijit, please keep your mic off. It's coming on again. परफॉर्मा नजर आ रहा है? I'll share again. I hope now it should be visible. Please let me know. Can you see the performer? Adult history taking Word document. Can you see? Okay, good. So now we are seeing this कि हमें कुछ illnesses males में ज़्यादा होती हैं, कुछ females में ज़्यादा होती हैं. This Mr. Techno Cameron, आवाज नहीं आ रही है क्योंकि आपने जब ज्वाइन किया होगा तो आपने ज्वाइन विद ऑडियो नहीं किया होगा. आपके स्क्रीन पे बॉटम लेफ्ट पर एक बटन होगा, उसको क्लिक करिए, आपको आवाज आएगी, बाकी सबको आ रही है. सो एज एंड ऑक्यूपेशन ये हमारे लिए इसलिए जरूरी है ताकि हमें कुछ एज रिलेटेड इलनेसेस हैं जिसके बारे में पता होना चाहिए. When we will discuss disorders, I will be giving you more and more information on which illnesses are common in males, which are common in females. For example, females generally have anxiety and nervous anxiety disorders and neurotic disorders also. Males also have there is substance use disorder like alcohol dependence and opioid dependence is also more common in males. Apart from that, if we talk about child psychiatry, then there are disorders like autism, ADHD. These disorders are more common definitely in male, and male is to female ratio is generally 4:1. एजुकेशन स्टेटस ऑल्सो हेल्प्स अस अंडरस्टैंड कि पेशेंट को जो प्रॉब्लम आ रही है वो कितना अपनी प्रॉब्लम को समझ सकता है. व्हाट इज द एजुकेशन स्टेटस एंड व्हाट इज द साइकोलॉजिकल सोफिस्टिकेशन दैट विल टेल अस इफ वी प्लान सम इंटरवेंशन हाउ मच द पेशेंट विल बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड. So when we take this history, we have to make sure that we are taking the history not only from the patient but from an informant. Now there are certain characteristics of the informant we need to be careful about, which means that the informant needs to be reliable. Reliable informant means the informant who has the best interest of the patient at hand. माने ऐसा नहीं हो that the patient is accompanied by a good friend, but you don't know the reliability of the friend and the friend is saying anything. It has to be some blood relative, generally some parent, brother, sister, somebody whom you can rely, somebody who has been living with the patient for a long time, ताकि उसको patient के बारे में information सारा हो. Reliability, how do we decide that the informant is reliable or not reliable? We decide the informant is reliable or not reliable by 3 C's. Here are the 3 C's. It has to be consistent, corroborative and continuous. Consistent, corroborative and continuous माने today I ask you something and after 10 minutes I ask you the same thing. जो आपने पहले बताया और जो बाद में बताया, क्या वो मैच किया? Is it consistent with what you were saying earlier? Or whatever you were telling me, is the information explaining the previous bit of information that you gave me? Can I corroborate? Corroborate माने if I ask you something and if I ask your informant something about the same issue, is the person able to corroborate कि जो मैंने बताया और जो मेरे informant ने बताया वो दोनों same है या नहीं है, या match करते हैं या नहीं करते हैं. Continuous, when your patient is telling you history, sometimes they tell you things that are about their present, sometimes they tell you things about their childhood, sometimes they tell you things that are about their middle age. So you have to make sure that are they able to make sense of, are you able to basically form a life story of this person and understand where this person is coming from beginning childhood to adulthood? Is it all making sense? Is it all coming together? It is really an art to understand that whatever the patient is saying, is it worth it? Is the information making sense or not? Now, there are two important terms that we will be discussing. Corroborative का मतलब है मैंने आपसे कोई इंफॉर्मेशन ली, आपने मुझे कुछ बताया, फिर मैंने आपके इन्फॉर्मेट माने कोई पेरेंट से लिया इंफॉर्मेशन, उन्होंने मुझे कुछ बताया, तो जो आपने बताया और जो उन्होंने बताया क्या वो मैच करता है, क्या वो सिमिलर है या नहीं है. This is the only question I'm answering right now. After this, after the theory class, there is a separate session for question and answer. So please keep your question and answers ready. We will be meeting in the second Zoom meeting for only question and answers dedicated. अभी क्या है, adequacy and complete. All of you pay attention. आज वाला जो सेशन है थोड़ा मुश्किल है because आज मैं बहुत सारी नई terms discuss करने वाली हूँ. There are a lot of new things for people who are not familiar with psychology, who will be learning these things. For example, the thing is that reliability and adequacy of information is one thing that you need to take care of. Next is reliability of the information we discussed, adequacy and completeness. So before I come to adequacy and completeness, let's just understand one thing, that all the psychiatric disorders are diagnosed by using two important manuals, and they are DSM-5 and ICD-11. जैसे हर एक चीज को डायग्नोज करने के लिए कोई क्राइटेरिया होता है, वो क्राइटेरिया DSM-5 और ICD-11 है. जैसे जैसे we will be progressing in the different sessions, we will be telling you what are the different criteria for the same. As a homework, I request all of you to gain basic information about, I will be putting it in the chat box so that you can read it, DSM-5 and ICD-11. These are two different books that diagnose different psychiatric disorders. DSM-5 is by American Association of Psychiatry, APA, and ICD-11 is by WHO. So there are people who can't understand Hindi. I will try to limit my Hindi as much as possible. I'm trying to take it in English as much as possible. Okay. अभी मैं बात कर रही थी about adequacy and completeness. So about the adequacy and completeness, when we are given some bit of information, if that information is enough for us to form a diagnosis, that means the information is adequate. Please listen to my words very, very carefully. It is an important thing. If the information given to me in history is enough for me to make a diagnosis by using either of these two manuals, DSM-5 or ICD-11, that means that the information is adequate. Okay, the information can be adequate for me to make a diagnosis and yet have some missing pieces of information, then the information can be incomplete also. Completeness or incompleteness of the information does not mean that you can't make a diagnosis. For example, if a patient is coming to you and the patient is adult, he is a 45-year-old male, he is suffering from depressive illness, and you are asking the patient what are the symptoms, the patient says, I have low mood, I have decreased sleep, decreased appetite, I have less confidence, I feel low on, I can't work, I have low work output, I feel lethargic, I feel fatigue, and all of this has been happening for more than 2 months. Okay, so I just briefly outlined the diagnostic criteria for depression that the patient was fulfilling. If I just listen to this much information, I know that the patient is depressed, has the diagnosis of depression, and yet there is so much that I don't know about the patient. I don't know whether the patient is married or not, what was his childhood history like, is there any family history of depression or not. So there is information that I don't have and that the patient is not probably able to give me, then the information is incomplete. Am I making my point clear about adequacy and completeness? I will come back to it if it is not understood completely. Next, good. Thank you, Rini, for your participation. Presenting complaints. Presenting complaints are the complaints with which the patient has been brought to us. In your clinical setting, suppose some of you are sitting and taking a case history as a mental health professional. When you are a mental health professional, you will have to document everything. Then you will have presenting complaints. Presenting complaints आप verbatim में लिखते हैं. What is verbatim? The same language in which the patient said things. Suppose the patient comes to me and says, डॉक्टर साहब मुझे नींद नहीं आती है, मेरा मन बिल्कुल नहीं लगता है. तो मैं I will write it in Hindi only in the way the patient told me that I am not able to sleep, I am feeling sad most of the times. I will write it. Okay. I will not use my own words. Please understand. I will highlight this. This is important that presenting complaints have to be in the patient's verbatim. Verbatim means the language in which the patient spoke. This verbatim allows us not to have our own impressions on the illness, not to use our own technical language in the complaints, and not to jump into a diagnosis before the diagnosis is made or before we have complete information, so that we keep our mind open. Next is about the onset. Onset of the illness is very important. When the person has a problem, then you start asking, when did you start having a problem? कब से दिक्कत होना शुरू हुआ? So abrupt is within 48 hours. Suppose there is a loss of family member, then suddenly the patient who has come to you tells you that I lost so and so family member, suppose lost a grandparent, and they were very, very close to me. So since yesterday I am having loss of appetite, I'm not able to sleep, I have low mood, then it is abrupt. Sometimes it is acute, that is within 2 weeks. 2 weeks mane, suppose you started having slowly you started having sleep disturbances, then you started having appetite disturbances, then you started having mood disturbances, and that gradually happened over 2 weeks. But since 2 weeks is also a small period of time, it is called acute. Then there is insidious or gradual. These two are different terms. Gradual means that you know that suppose we are talking about a patient who has schizophrenia or psychosis. Now typically psychosis is supposed to generally starts showing its symptoms around the age of 15 years of age or 16 years of age. That's typical case. What happens is that you know that the parents bring the patient to you by the time the patient is 20-25 years old. That point of time the disorganization has increased and there are clear-cut symptoms and you can make the diagnosis of schizophrenia. But there are times when the symptoms of schizophrenia were not very clear and you were able to maybe make out that there were certain signs that were pointing towards an illness. For example, the child was not able to make friends, had disorganized behavior, would not like to take a bath, would have poor self-care, would keep talking to himself, keep muttering to himself. These are the signs of psychosis or schizophrenia. So this started appearing mildly at the age of 15 years of age. So you know that by the time the patient reached 25, the disorganization was so complete that they needed treatment. That case, the onset is gradual. But मान लो आप ये decide ही नहीं कर पाते कि शुरू कब हुई, पता ही नहीं जी. We don't know. We can't pinpoint. We can't finger that okay, this is the time when the illness started happening, or this is the time when the symptoms started appearing. That case is called insidious. So abrupt, acute, insidious, and gradual. I hope these terms are clear. Moving ahead, let's talk about course. Now, some illnesses are continuous, some illnesses are fluctuating, and some illnesses are episodic. It will be helpful if when I ask questions like if it is understood or not understood, you guys can participate in the chat box. I keep reading the chat box side by side and it helps me understand whether you guys are able to make up for the definitions or not. There are too many definitions in this case history. So it will be helpful if you guys could participate. Asking questions would be taken up in the next session. So when we talk about course is continuous, fluctuating, or episodic. Continuous means, like I was talking about the case of schizophrenia. So the illness started at 15 years of age. and there has been no period in which the child or the parent or patient was completely asymptomatic. So that is a continuous course. Fluctuating is there was a time when there were active problems, then the problems resided for some time and then they occurred again. Episodic. Now there are different definitions of what constitutes an episode. The clear-cut history of episodicity we are able to understand, especially in case of bipolar disorder. I hope some of you must be familiar with bipolarity. Bipolar disorder means there is an episode of depression and generally it is followed by an episode of mania. And it is said that a usual episode of depression lasts for 2 to 3 months. Okay, so then episodicity, we have to mention the course kaisa tha, continuous, fluctuating or episodic. Then we have to mention about the precipitating factor. Now, precipitating factor is something that is a very, very significant event in the family, in the life of the patient. For example, when I was talking about the abrupt illness, I was talking about the loss of family member. So now loss of family member is very, very abrupt and that causes a lot of problems. Now that can be a precipitating factor for anybody. Precipitating factor ऐसा होता है कि वो एक ऐसा ट्रिगर है कि वो अगर किसी को भी होगा तो उसको प्रॉब्लम आएगा ही आएगा. Translating it in English, if you have a triggering factor or a precipitating factor, then anybody who will be in that place will have some problem or the other in some form or the other. Yes, Ishita, triggering factor, but the technical term for it is precipitating factor. So now, as a homework, second homework for you guys is that you need to read about what is the maintaining factor. हमने बात किया precipitating factor के बारे में. Precipitating factor is what triggers an illness. What is the maintaining factor? You have to read about that. Then comes the history of presenting illness. This is the general performa we will be filling for each and every patient who is coming to our clinic so that A, we can document our history and maintain a patient record which is mandated by the law. Secondly, a good history will help us form a diagnosis. So history of presenting illness is that we have to mention, see, we wrote all the presenting complaints. The presenting complaints were the ones that the patient presented to us with. Now, in the history of presenting illness, we will pick up each and every complaint and we will ask the patient in detail about the presenting problems. For example, suppose the patient was brought to us with complaints of disturbed sleep, decreased appetite, low mood. So, in history of presenting illness, we will be writing everything here. Like, number 1, there was sleep problem. So, we will be mentioning sleep and we will mention it in detail. Since when did the sleep problem start occurring? Since when did the sleep problem become so severe that the patient needed help? How is the sleep? Is the sleep broken? Is there a problem in the onset of sleep? Is the problem in the waking up early? Or is the problem in the broken sleep? Okay. Then we will talk about if the patient presented with loss of appetite. We will talk about कब से भूख नहीं लग रही है. Since when have you started feeling that there is a problem in appetite? Third thing, if the patient presented with low mood, then we will also say that the low mood is because we will talk about since when did the low mood start occurring, since when the problem started coming. Okay. What are maintaining factors? Sushmita, this is your homework. Thank you for mentioning it here. And apart from this, ICD-11 and DSM-5 were the other homeworks. So these two are the homeworks for you. Okay. So यहाँ पर हमने presenting illness के बारे में सारी की सारी history ले ली. Tejasri, very nice. Perpetuating factor is also called as maintaining factor. Very good. Treatment history. Treatment history में हम लोग पूछेंगे what is the drug given to the patient, what is the duration of the treatment, what is the compliance. Compliance का मतलब if you were given a drug, were you taking it regularly, were you adhering to the advice that was given to you by the doctor, and what were the adverse effects. Now, why treatment history is important? Anybody who is from a doctor background can understand that sometimes when we give a drug to the patient, then the patient responds to a particular drug and starts showing improvement, but they leave the drug in between. So we have to understand what is the problem. Is the drug the problem, or the nature of the patient to not take the medicine a problem, or the adverse effects the problem? What is the issue? And if the drug was efficacious, we can restart that drug. If the drug had adverse effects, we can change the medicine. That is about the medical part of it. Past illness is very important. Why? Since we discussed here that the course can be episodic, continuous, or fluctuating. Suppose the course is episodic, the patient is having history of bipolar disorder. If the bipolar disorder is there, then you definitely need to know what is the duration of total illness. Kab se illness start hua? 4 years, 5 years. And if there were episodes, then what was the first episode? Was it depression? Was it mania? How long did it last? After that, how long did it remit? And what was the inter-episodic period like? Inter-episodic period means one depression episode, one episode of mania. What was the period in between? That is called inter-episodic period. Only current episode is described in history of present illness, and the history of past episodes come here. Now I am typically giving an example of bipolar disorder, but it can also be recurrent depressive disorder. माने सिर्फ depression के ही episodes आए हैं, तो भी हमारे लिए ये पता करना बहुत जरूरी है that what was the previous episode like. Third thing is family history. When we talk about family history, we have to write everything in detail. First thing is a 3-generation genogram. Your third homework is to understand what is a genogram and how do you mention it. How do you make a picture of the genogram? We will be discussing that also in detail. Okay. And once you depict the family in a genogram, we are able to once we are able to understand what is the genogram, then we are also able to quickly at a glance understand that what is the history of the family. It is just a way of documenting your family's history. Then we talk about personal history. Personal history में generally हम लोग discuss करते हैं birth complications, developmental milestones, and some issues that are neurotic traits like nail biting, school refusal, truancy. Truancy, do you understand? Truancy means bunking the school, bunking the classes frequently. Conduct symptoms. Conduct symptoms are coming from a disorder which is called conduct disorder. Record average academic performance. Why is this important? It will tell us whether the patient's intellectual capacity is good enough or not. Whether the patient has a good enough capacity to understand what we are talking about or not. Occupational history. Is the patient frequently changing jobs? Is the patient stable enough for a particular job? Marital history. Any problems in the married life? Sexual history. When did the patient... Sexual history also in males and females, it is very, very important sometimes to ask about some details like menstrual history. When was the menarche? When did the patient, if the patient is a female, when did the patient start having her periods? When did the secondary sexual characters develop? Some details parents tell on their own, but sometimes when the disorder demands, when the history point, we might have to also ask about the history, sexual history or any history of previous sexual encounters. You might be surprised, but sadly, there are a lot of cases that have child sexual abuse and they are not reported. So sometimes asking about this history, obviously in a sensitive manner, goes a long way in documenting and in helping you understand the case and the patient much, much better. Next topic is about the pre-morbid personality. Now, I will be sharing another document with you when I share all other resources. In those resources, I will be sharing about the pre-morbid personality assessment. Now, what happens is, pre-morbid personality means kai baar we have to in clarity we have to differentiate that since when these symptoms started. So, typically, if a patient comes to me with depressive illness, they tell me that I have low mood and I have been having low mood for the past 6 to 7 months. We need to ask the patient that before 6 months, how were you? When you are able to identify कि 6 महीने पहले आप exactly कैसे थे, that is called pre-morbid personality. Pre-morbid personality means what was the patient's attitude to work, family, life, to take responsibility, to cope up when faced with stress, and in young and adolescents, temperament history also. Now, important thing is personality 16 साल के बाद बनती है. Important thing is temperament 16 साल से पहले होता है. Okay, so when you are discussing that how was this patient like before the patient started developing a problem, if the patient's age is less than 16 years, you will be mentioning the patient's basic temperament. Okay, but if the patient is above 16 years of age, you will be writing the patient's personality, pre-morbid personality. Morbid matlab disease, morbidity aane se pehle, before the morbidity, how was the patient like. So we have this golden book that's called Mayer and Gross, and I have a chapter out of that book. I will be sending it to everybody. In that chapter, let me show you if I have it here. In that chapter, there is a proper assessment performer for personality assessment, and everybody should read that performer. So this is the book that I will be sharing with you. I will be sharing that basic chapter with you. And in this examination of psychiatric patient, there is this column where we start talking about the patient's pre-morbid personality. Here. So here we talk about the personality before the patient's illness. I will encourage everybody to read this paragraph, page number 42 and 43 very, very carefully, so that you are able to understand what are the basic things you need to know. Not only does this tell you about the patient's personality, but it also helps you understand the patient much, much better. It also helps you understand what were the patient's likings or dislikings. It gives you a lot of pointers to ask the questions from the patient. Sometimes you are at loss of words, you don't know what to say, the patient is not forming a rapport. So maybe you can pick up any topics of common interest and start topics. And this pre-morbid personality assessment will also help you identify the patient, if the patient is presenting with the illness, depressive illness, then they will say, okay, I earlier used to love gardening or reading books. Now I don't do that anymore. And over the period of time, suppose you take them up for therapy, suppose you take them up for treatment, gradually they will start reporting, okay, ma'am, now since the treatment has begun, I started feeling better again. I started investing in books again, gardening again. So my joy is coming back. So one piece of, I think one thing that I can share comfortably with all of you is that always be very, very thorough when you are taking the history. This Word document, of course, will be shared with all of you. This examination of psychiatric patient and the pre-morbid personality will also be shared with you. We will also be sharing the video recording of this lecture with all of you, so that you can, if you miss out on something or if you can't attend a bit of the meeting, then you can always listen to this later on. Okay, so now we are going to talk about, this is all about history taking. Let me discuss a little bit more about this small presentation. We also discussed about the maintaining factors. Now I'm going to talk about what are predisposing factors and what are precipitating factors. There are three things I am mentioning now. Precipitating factors, I'm mentioning it in the chat box. Precipitating factors, predisposing factors, and maintaining factors. These are three different types of factors. I want to encourage you all to read a little bit about this and come back tomorrow. Tell me the answers for all of this. I have the answers ready. I can give them to you today, but then you will not work. So it's a small exercise you will all be doing. Maintaining factors basically हमने discuss कर लिया था कि जो illness को maintain करते हैं. Precipitating factors वो होते हैं कि जिसके बिना illness का होना possible नहीं था, और अगर वो किसी को भी हो गए हैं तो उनको problem आएगी ही आएगी. Maintaining factors and reinforcing factors are the same. What are predisposing factors? That's my question. What are predisposing factors? Read about them, understand about them. So anybody who has a difficulty in understanding any of the terms, please feel free to message us. We will be opening our WhatsApp group for questions only, and please mention all the questions that you want to take up. Firstly, we will be taking up questions in the next session that will be held at 1:50 p.m. The link for the Zoom meeting has been shared with everybody. Secondly, after we answer all of those questions, if anybody has any additional questions left, can always put the message in the WhatsApp group, which we will be opening in the evening for only questions to be taken up. So you guys have 3 homeworks. First is basic understanding about the diagnostic manuals, that is DSM-5 and ICD-11. Second is what are predisposing factors, what are maintaining factors, and what are precipitating factors. Third thing is genogram. Okay, so you have to understand what is a genogram and how do you make it. In the last batch, the audience was so interactive that they sent us images of genograms. And I did ask them, I remember I asked them a question that if there's a genogram and you had to tell how do you demonstrate the child who is adopted in a genogram. And it was very interesting because all of them came with a reply, and I hope that all of you will also be a very, very interactive audience and interact with us and send us your homeworks as well. So any quick questions before I finish this session in another 2-3 minutes about the history? We will be taking up the mental status examination completely separately. It is technically just about the history taking pro forma. I will be sharing the Word document. Any quick questions anyone has can write on the chat box right now and I can answer them. For those who have joined for those who have joined us and they are not very much into psychology or are reading all this for the first time, I understand that these terms can be very, very technical or mushkil lagengi, but as we go on, first 2 sessions are difficult in this internship. But after the first 2 sessions, it will become very, very interesting because we will be talking specifically about disorders, how to understand them, how to handle them. Once we understand this, it will become easier for us to understand the rest. Okay, there is no link for DSM-5 and ICD-11. These are books, and these are books that are, some of the books can be available, some of the diagnostic criteria are freely available online. So suppose out of DSM-5 you want to read what is the diagnostic criteria for depression in DSM-5, you can type it on Google browser, you will get the diagnostic criteria. These are manuals which are used to refer to a different types of diagnostic criteria. You can also check out American Psychiatry Association website for DSM-5. कोरोबोरेटिव स्वाति, अगर आप हिंदी समझते हैं तो अगर मैंने आपसे, आप पेशेंट हैं और आप अपनी मदर के साथ आए हैं, तो मैंने आपसे कोई इंफॉर्मेशन पूछी और आपने मुझे वो थोड़ी सी बताई कि मुझे ये प्रॉब्लम 4 महीने से है, मैंने आपकी मम्मी से पूछा, अगर उन्होंने भी सेम बताया तो ये कोरोबोरेट हो गया, मैच हो गया. Right, so last few seconds I will be leaving you guys now for 150 session. Take care. We'll be leaving the meeting now. Bye-bye.